I think there is no room at all for populism, but I think that he might surprise us tomorrow. Because going from the railway budget, I think the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister may have decided to bite the bullet, because as you all are saying, this is the last chance that they can do it. They now have the numbers with the SP deciding to support them. They are quite audacious sort of stand against TMC today for the railway budget shows that they might well have made the point, and what Navika has been saying, that there could be tough measures, what are called tough, but which is actually just plain good economics, because they know, as they must know, that any more populism will neither give them the electoral advantage and will take the economy down a very steep decline, which will then come home to roost when the general elections are announced, whenever they are announced. So I think this is, I'm looking to be surprised tomorrow morning.
But is there any room for populism? That's my question. Subhashishta, what do you think? Is there any room? Is there no room? No room for populism, says, yeah, Subhashish.
Well, you see, we must understand what we mean by populist measures, right?
The food subsidy bill, for example, that's a populist measure.
I don't think so. The way it is being operationalized is a nightmare, and it's going to have huge losses.
So it's populist.
No, just hear me out, right? The NRHM, for example, is not a populist measure. NREGS is not a populist measure. What are populist measures, and those I do not think will be touched in terms of getting rid of them, is the LPG subsidy, the diesel subsidy. Those are populist measures. Because in a civilized society, you do want people to have health, you do want people to have education, you do want people to have food.
Yeah.
So those are not populist measures in a democratic society. Yeah. What are populist are the subsidies that we get. And those, if those are touched, will I say that indeed the government is biting the bullet.
But one second, what I meant, let me put this in context. What I meant is, that's why I linked it to the fiscal deficit, already 1% above the above level. This food subsidy bill takes it to 1 lakh crore. Now, however noble the intentions, given our present economic crisis, somebody is going to turn around and say, sorry, but this should be the last instance of such profligacy in the absence of an established system where it helps the people.
Absolutely.
Right? Panisha Priyam, do we have the room for that kind of populism this time?
No, we don't have any room for populism. And I do slightly disagree with what Subhashish had just had to say. I think the food bill in its present form is a completely populist measure. And we have economists from all over the world who have diverse ideological perspectives, having written openly to the Prime Minister that in its present form, it's not something that should be operationalized. So what we can see is clearly the government does not have any room to just raise expenditures without thinking about it.
But then at the same time, it has just lost an election.
What I would say,
it has lost an election in Uttar Pradesh.
No, what the government could therefore do
can I just say that?
Consolidate its gains on the NREGA, which somewhere along the way, most of us would agree, is a very well targeted scheme. So, increase your expenditure on NREGA and cut down on the expenditures on all others. And the food, definitely the food bill is a measure of populism.
Normally politics doesn't follow that pattern. Politics follows what Sonia Gandhi's diktat is. And Sonia Gandhi's diktat is the food security bill. So it is pretty much part of the budget.
But even Sonia Gandhi will think that I made the government put a 3,000 crore rupee package for Bundelkhand. What did I get?
7,000 crore.
7,000 crore rupee. There was another 6,000 crore rupee package for Weavers. What did we get?
There is nothing.
So is there, no, one second.
See, the point is, regardless of the diminishing electoral returns from these schemes,
they'll still go
the temptation is, this is almost a Pavlovian response of politicians, that whenever, what do you see the most thumping of desks during a budget? When they announce the outlay for NREGA has been increased from X to X plus 8, then you get the thumping. That's what
maybe
they
the
want.
Congress will be realistic.
That's what they think is a good talking point.
Maybe the UPA will be realistic and say, sorry, it doesn't fetch votes.
Absolutely.
Does realism fetch votes? Does realism fetch votes in their perception?
No, but there is some mention made in today's economic survey, which you need to look at, because Pranab Mukherjee's mindset, at least showing here, it says there is no doubt that a part of India's slowdown is rooted in domestic causes, and here there were also the pressures of democratic politics which slowed down reforms. So it's an admission coming in. It's we don't know whether it will be addressed.
Navika, NREGA gives money to the poor, and it has been responsible for a lot of the growth that you've seen in the FMCG non-durables. Therefore, giving cash directly to the people is really the order of the day. It also gets you the votes. So they would trade off one form of
But if there is any allocation for the food subsidy bill, let me just say this.
Rajiv Kumar,
I just want to say something. I mean, I think one of the benchmarks for tomorrow's budget, the testing ground would be that if there is any allocation for the food subsidy bill as that stands, that means the budget would have failed one of the crucial tests of being a realistic and economically sound budget. I mean, I think that's your touchstone for tomorrow, because if that goes through, that means we have not learnt any lessons at all, and we are just going down the same route of trying to throw good money behind bad, in trying to achieve things which are not achievable, in the hope that they will give you some electoral joy at the end of the day. And that is, I think, to me, a very clear touchstone for tomorrow's budget.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I would like Pranab Mukherjee to be responsible and not encourage it. But I think there's a lot of ruin in a country, as Adam Smith said, and there's every temptation for Pranab Mukherjee to go down the Sonia Gandhi way and at least put in food subsidy. What he will do, he will forecast a low deficit, and then he will exceed it.
Oh, he said he's
No,
got
but
well,
I think that sleight of hand is, I mean, you've got to acknowledge what the real deficit is.
It's a tough task ahead of him. Mr. Pranab Mukherjee will really have a tough task. But the next big question, and that also relates to populism, is will Pranab Mukherjee address the issue of fuel subsidies? There is a mention in the economic survey.
What does it say?
The economic survey very, very clearly says that there is a possible intermediate step, which is to fix a per litre subsidy from the government to the oil marketing companies, and beyond that, whatever happens, oil marketing companies should be free to fix their prices. There is a mention in the economic survey.
But
we
this
don't
just doesn't
quite
make
know
sense.
whether Pranab Mukherjee will walk the talk on this
Again,
issue.
Rajiv Kumar wants to go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Kumar. Will he free diesel prices?
Yeah, but this just doesn't make sense. You fix the amount of subsidy, and suppose in the month of October you run out of that. What do you do at that stage? You tell the farmers no more, you tell the transport industry no more subsidized diesel. So I think this particular measure that the economic survey is showing, plus also the fact that it is going at 7.8% for next year, is reducing the credibility of the document as well as of the government, and I wish it hadn't been done. So I think the subsidy has just to be removed, because as Subhashish said, this is one of the populist measures that you've got in the current set of policies.
No, will he, for example, will he control, takes us to our next question, question number 6, can he control food and fertilizer subsidies which are totally bleeding his balance sheet now?
I think the best I'm hoping for is he freezes them and does not increase them. If you can just keep it at last year's level, that would be a cut in real terms. That would be about 8% cut in real terms. That is the best I can hope. I mean, obviously, ideally, I'd like him to cut more.
Swapanda.
You know, I think it's absurd to even think that at this time, when you have important elections, and in fact, India is elections are an annual affair.
But the next election is Gujarat and Karnataka in December, so there's some time.
One of the most vulnerable features of the Congress is its erosion in the middle classes. And that is what gave them that significant edge in 2009. So I think what you're going to see is anything which touches an issue like fuel subsidy, LPG subsidy, for example, being one. I think they'll be very, very wary of frontally.
So you're saying that they have suffered some psychological blow?
I think there are some very good ideas. No, I think Kaushik Basu has some very good ideas. And I think that was the unique feature about Kaushik, is that he had a completely innovative mind. But he works in a moribund system.
But do you think there is this whole Trinamool Congress effect? But let me put a broader question here. Do you think the whole Trinamool Congress effect has had an impact on the thinking of the government? That it's going to be defensive? Or do you think, on the contrary, the government will go for the kill this time and say, we will call Mamata Banerjee's bluff? On how many issues can she threaten to withdraw support?
No, go for the kill. I think it's already a minority government.
The problem of going for the kill is you will get killed.
No. See, what they have to do is, on every measure now, they've got to see, on this one, which party supports me. On fertilizer, Mulayam is not going to support me. On rail fares, maybe if I touch the lower rung, maybe I can get support from here. So if this is the way they have to move, they might as well just be a minority government and look for parties that will support them on each specific measure.
But this is the last time.
They can bite the bullet completely. At least this gives them, this gives them the support of the corporate sector. Before they go for the elections, you do need money for electioneering.
I don't think
where do they get it from? Unless they have an industrial
I don't think money has ever been in short supply. It is a problem of the votes and voting categories, as I said.
That's next year,
which are the
Monica.
voting, which are
next year.
But that is if you think that this government is going to complete its term with every day.